Wie entsteht eigentlich ein komplett neues Motorradmodell? Wir sehen am Ende alle immer das fertige Produkt, das wir dann kaufen können, aber wie geht eigentlich so eine Entwicklung, so ein Testing von einem neuen Motorradmodell wirklich vonstatten? Das dürfen wir uns ganz exklusiv anschauen und zwar bei MV Agusta. Hier geht es um die Neuauflage, die Neuausrichtung der Brutale 800, RR 800, Ottantissimo. Man kannte sie jetzt alle, die 800er Dreizylinder-Modelle. Jetzt kommt eine neue Brutale mit komplett neuer Ausrichtung und wir schauen uns an, wie entsteht die. Schauen wir uns zunächst einmal an, um was für eine Entwicklung es denn hier genau geht. Und dafür müssen wir darauf schauen, was die MV Agusta Brutale 800 bislang war. Sie war nämlich immer ein Hooligan-Bike. Sie war ein Motorrad, sie war eine F3, also ein Rennsportmotorrad mit hohem Lenker, dafür ohne Verkleidung und mit all dieser Radikalität, die dazugehört. Das ist, wie MV festgestellt hat, mal ein Plus gewesen, ein radikales Naked Bike, super straff, super handlich, ja, sehr spitz abgestimmt vom Motor und auch nicht ganz einfach zu fahren vom Handling. Kann man jetzt als ja, positive Punkte werten, ist aber nicht mehr das, was ein modernes Naked Bike sein soll. Deswegen hat MV Agusta gesagt, wir machen einen Neustart. Ich weiß nicht, ob Sie selber das Wort Neustart in den Mund nehmen würden. Ich mache das jetzt einfach mal. Und wir überholen die Brutale und machen aus der Brutale 800 eine Brutale. Und das heißt, an zwei Sachen sollte vor allem gearbeitet werden. Einmal am Motor, ein anderer Motor, ein neuer Motor, eine neue Motorauslegung und natürlich am Chassis. Und da kommen wir dann dazu, dass ein komplett neues Motorrad entsteht, was am Ende natürlich in dem Fall noch eine Brutale sein soll, aber was einer komplett neuen Ausrichtung folgt. Und wie man dann am Ende vorgeht, wie so ein Prototyp überhaupt entsteht, das hören wir jetzt vom Experten selber, der daran gearbeitet hat. Neben mir steht jetzt nämlich Federico Macario. Er ist Head of Product bei MV Agusta und er ist derjenige, der ein neues Motorrad entwickelt und einer der großen Köpfe hinter diesem Projekt. Federico, thank you so much for having us here at your factory and to be able to take a look at how you develop a new motorcycle, an all-new motorcycle, which is an all-new Brutale. Can you tell me a little bit why did you choose to build a new bike and how are you doing it?
Sure. First of all, thanks, Fabian. I'm so happy to be here with you, to have ridden with you. It was, I think, a pretty nice day that we spent together. You know, the Brutale 800 RR, at the end of the day, it's a development that started with the F3. So it's all about aggressiveness and being fast, but at very high speed. Racetrack speeds
And
with the
high-level riding skill also.
exactly
Yeah.
also that the Brutale 950 we work the other way around. We focus on the street, riding on our beautiful streets on the Alps, and we want to be fast in that specific situation. And since those are two very different situations, we need something else. And this is exactly what we put on this Brutale 950. More torquey, smoother. You can basically do everything third gear. Nevertheless, I would say it's still a pretty powerful unit, and it's truly torquey. At the end of the day, we are always MV Agusta, so just swap the Enduro Veloce into a new Brutale chassis was probably not our way. So the power unit is actually different and specific for the Brutale 950.
Yeah.
When we started our conversation this morning on the table, we had the side plate of the frame, and I told you basically this is the only carryover part that we have. And Of course, it's not 100% like that, but more or less is like that, because this is a completely new bike, new in everything. So of course, when you look at it, you recognize that it's a Brutale, but when you ride it, you recognize that it's something different. We hope, but we are also confident that it's something better, and that everyone can enjoy not only the beautiful design and aesthetic of our bikes, but also the performance of our bike in a very friendly way.
Yeah.
This was the goal.
So you wanted to like domesticate the Brutale, and
Okay,
maybe
it's a nice way to describe it.
yeah, which is I've known the old Brutales very well, and they were very, like you said, bikes you had to commit to. So now I'm very interested because you said there's so much you changed. You did not take really a lot of parts to the new bike. So how, when you have all your goals, you want to achieve your goals, but how do you start developing the new bike? What is it you build? How do you build it together?
Okay. This is also one of the reasons why we invited you here, because MV Agusta is changing. People in MV Agusta are changing, and we also want to change our approach. And from now on, we really want to be transparent and honest with all the guys in the industry like you, but also with the customer that potentially can buy an MV Agusta. So we said, why don't we bring some journalists into the development phase so that they can really understand what we do in all those years before a new bike is launched, and also get your feedback, because this is important. You have the opportunity to ride many bikes, probably more bikes than what I can do. So that's why your feedback is so important. So you can like live one day as a MV Agusta tester.
Yeah, it's a big honor. It's a big honor. Yes, thank you.
Cool. Cheers. But also then transfer your experience and this day to all the readers and all the followers that you have. But back to your question. Prototypes. So everything that you want to change, you have to test it. Has to be tested.
Yeah.
And usually we have 3 to 4 prototypes. Today with us we have this one, which is the so-called P0.
Yeah.
And then we have over there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can see it. We have the P2, which is a further evolution of the P2. So on the P0, as you can see, all the design components, especially in the front, are still the same as the Brutale 800 RR, and it's much less finished. And here is where we, first of all, validate the chassis behavior and the ergonomic triangle. We did a pretty big job on ergonomic as well, because the motorcycle trend is changing. And if 10, 15 years ago, be uncomfortable maybe was the same as being fast, now it's totally different. Now, in order to be fast, you have to be very comfortable with the bike and feel like everything is under control. So we tested many bikes from the competition, and we checked what was better than us and what we could also copy.
Yeah.
Because this is the sad reality. If you want to improve, you have to take what is the best from the best and try to adapt it in your own way, of course. But in terms of ergo triangle, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
So we did that, and also we test the geometry of the bike to make sure that we achieved what we wanted to achieve. So a much more neutral bike, very balanced, inspiring in terms of confidence, and also with a front end that is stable and that never scares you. because this is something that everyone was impressed when the first time that we tested the P0, is like this bike was helping every one of us to go one step faster, one step longer with the braking. And we were happy because that was exactly what we were looking for. Then when the P0 is over, then we move on to the other bike that we have here, the P2 in this case. It depends from the development process. Usually you do P0, P1, P2, P3, and then the, let's say, commercial pre-series, at least us. On this specific case, we further developed the P0, and then from that we jumped directly to the P2. So the P1 is actually was not here, and has never been here actually. And the P2 is a different bike because as soon as you look at it, you can see clearly that all the design part have already the shape of the new bike. Suspension are the same of the new bike. Of course, they are not what we call off tool, off process. They are still in a prototype shape and way, but it's much closer to the production bike.
Okay, well, I think maybe we can also just switch and show the P2 right now, because we've seen the P0, so let's go to P2. I will just switch.
Okay, perfect.
And ta-da, changed.
We are back again.
We're back again. No, I didn't want to interrupt you, but of course we have to show this P2 because it's so impressive. So just, I didn't want to interrupt you, just keep talking. What is this about? So this really looks like a prototype.
Yeah. This looks like a prototype because also the aesthetic part are prototype parts. And that's also why we have this camo effect on it, because otherwise we would have disclosed too much. And this is still something that we don't want to do at this stage. But of course, from an aesthetic point of view, this bike is much more closer to the final production bike. And not only from an aesthetic point of view, but also performance-wise. Very first thing, the engine. We have ridden this bike today and we felt it, but the engine is a different one. So this one is with the, let's say this, with the cylinder head that is gonna go to production. On the P0 we still had the Enduro Veloce cylinder head. So let's say is missing some horsepower, is missing some torque as well, because we are gonna have more. The exhaust, now you don't see the exhaust because it's on the other side, but also the prototype exhaust has the shape that it will have in production. The seat, for example, I told you before, like a funny story on the seat. At some point, probably, I would say almost we lost ourselves on the seat because we knew that it was something to improve, and we really worked super hard to improve it up to a certain point when I said, hey guys, it's not a touring bike. Yeah, exactly. It's more than enough. But this, in my opinion, is like a signal that everyone was really committed to make the best out of this bike. Also in those fields where usually you are not really thinking about MV Agusta when you talk with your buddies about seat comfort. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Then on the P3 we also do, since we have the most updated engine, all the mapping, the engine mapping, ABS mapping. The P2 and the P0 that now is there have a different brake system, because this one is a further step, and you can see we also changed the front calipers, for example. There is a different dashboard because that is gonna be the production dashboard, smaller, with already the HMI that all the customer will see when they buy their bike, while on the other one there still was the 7-inch Enduro Veloce dashboard, because that was just, say,
Yeah.
very first prototype to start and see how everything works. Suspension. This is where you really work hard on your suspension setting, because of course suspension setting goes together with the ABS setting, and so you need to arrive at already a pretty almost finished development in those terms, and then from the P2 you jump on the P3, and on the P3 we don't have the P3 now
No.
here today, but on the P3 you are getting the parts from the suppliers, so it's not a prototype anymore. It's like the real part that is going to be on production. Is the first time that you understand whether what we have done has been done correctly, and also if our supplier have understood it correctly. And so I would say this is the last prototype
Last real prototype.
on which you can still bring some changes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the reason why we wanted you to ride it, because otherwise if I invite you here to ride the P3, yes, it's cool,
but you are more or less finished.
Yeah, I can't really listen to your feedback, so it would be kind of fake. Let's put it like that.
It's really interesting also to see how you work with all this. You see all those wires, and can you just tell me, there's so much instruments in this bag. What do you measure now?
All the diagnostic system. You have to imagine like on the racetrack, like all those MotoGP engineers that are in the box and that can control really turn by turn exactly what happened to the motorcycle to set it up to go faster for the rider. This is more or less the same. We have a GPS unit, so we can understand exactly what our test rider means when he gives us some inputs, because of course it cannot be just when I left the turn third gear, I feel this, I feel that. We know exactly what turn, where he was, the speed, the RPMs, the humidity, the condition of the suspension, because there is also
data recording.
Way to measure the suspension damping, and everything is connected here so that our engineers can very quickly connect it to the USB port that is there and check what is happening over there. And then the wiring harness, which usually is very hidden underneath the tank and the seat. In this case, it's not. So it's like a prototype one, and of course it's it's feasible, and it has to be like that.
I can only say, as I now wrote the two stages, the first thing I want to say, it's the new Brutale is definitely a different bike from the old one, and it's definitely going just the direction you just talked about. It's the bike you feel good on when you just sit on it and do the first turns, whereas the old one was very you had to be
fully committed
to the bike. So I think this is in terms of rideability regarding the chassis and the suspension comfort, it's just a great step. And I am now very excited because, like you said, electronics is not set up right now.
The mapping is not fully set it up.
Yeah, but as you now have the engine, which is so much more torquey, so much less like only racing engine. You have the softer suspension, the better ergonomics for the road. So I'm pretty impressed on how you really switched with the Brutale to a different direction, and I'm very excited about how the bike will be finally, and also how it will look. Fassen wir noch einmal kurz auf Deutsch zusammen. Dass man Ziele bei einer Entwicklung eines neuen Motorrads definiert, das hätten wir uns jetzt alle wahrscheinlich vorstellen können. Aber dass es dann ziemlich schnell auch daran geht, mit Prototypen zu arbeiten, fand ich total interessant. Und es ist auch total interessant zu sehen, wie diese Prototypen entstehen. Hier der P0, P0 Prototyp, also wirklich der Motor, der so ungefähr rein soll mit dem Chassis, wie wir es uns vorstellen, wird zusammengebaut und dann wird erstmal geschaut, wie funktioniert dieses ganze Chassiskonstrukt, wie stabil fährt das, wie handelt das. Also da wird sich dann wirklich auf so Grundtugenden eines Motorrades beschränkt und fokussiert. An allen anderen Ecken und Enden wird noch was hingebaut, was irgendwie gerade da liegt und was gerade noch passt. Und dann wird damit erstmal gefahren. Dann wird die Ergonomie hier abgestimmt. Man sieht hier schon an dieser Sitzbank, da wurde auch ganz viel rumgebastelt, rumgeklebt, damit man das irgendwie hinbekommt. Und das Spannende, was ich jetzt fand, auch im Fahren dieses Prototypen, ist, wie man sich dann wirklich auf diese bestimmten Tugenden des Motorrades beschränkt. Also in dem Fall wirklich, es ging um das Handling und natürlich muss da ungefähr der Motor drin sein und die Motorcharakteristik so sein, wie man sich das vorstellt. Aber es geht erstmal wirklich um das Handling des Motorrads und um die Ergonomie und dass man sich darauf wirklich fokussiert und dann wirklich schaut, wie funktioniert das. Und da kann ich jetzt sagen, im Vergleich zu dieser alten Brutale mit diesem kippeligen Handling, dieses Motorrad wollte ja wirklich immer nach innen, das wollte immer Zug, immer drauf haben, ist das hier wirklich ein Wohlfühlhandling, muss ich sagen, jetzt für den Anfang gewesen. Das haben sie wirklich gut hinbekommen, haben mit dem Rosso 4 Corsa einen realistischen Reifen für ein Landstraßenmotorrad, für ein richtig sportliches Landstraßenmotorrad gewählt. Und da muss ich sagen, war ich beeindruckt, wie das dann doch in diesem Konzept Brutale, das man jetzt seit vielen Jahren kennt als dieses radikale Ding, auf einmal so smooth ist und so smooth funktionieren kann. Und da bin ich wirklich mal gespannt, wie das dann in die Serie weitergeht. Und das nächste, was spannend war, wenn man dann auf diesen P2-Prototypen umsteigt, ist, wie es dann einen Schritt weitergeht. Also das Handling ist dann natürlich die Aussehung, die Geometrie ist die gleiche. Und das Motorrad handelt auch auf die gleiche Weise. Aber man hat sich zum Beispiel überlegt, Bremse ändern wir nochmal. Wir gehen von den, in dem Fall Stilema-Sätteln auf die High-Pure-Sättel. Weiß ich gar nicht, ob das am Ende so bleibt. Ich fand nämlich vielleicht sogar die Stilema-Sättel vom Gefühl am Anfang jetzt in der Abstimmung, die da waren, ein bisschen angenehmer. Aber das ist eine Sache, wo man mal schauen muss, wo geht's hin und arbeitet man da noch mit Bremsbelägen und so weiter und so fort. Und dann ganz interessant, hier geht es dann an das Fahrwerkssetting. Also während das hier noch das Straffe der Brutale hatte, ist der P2 dann ein angenehmes Fahrwerk, also ein deutlich softeres Federbein, was irgendwie schöner anspricht, wo man wirklich darauf offensichtlich schaut, dass man auch einen Komfort für die Landstraße und nicht nur Performance für die Rennstrecke bietet, was ja etwas ist, wo wir seit Jahren sagen, MV, macht das doch mal, das würde wahrscheinlich eure Motorräder in Tests besser abschneiden lassen. Und genau das ist dieser Switch, der jetzt passiert und jetzt ist das hier auch schon ein Fahrwerk, was wohl zu 90% dann fertig ist, was im direkten Vergleich einen riesengroßen Unterschied macht. So, und jetzt hat man bei diesen P2-Prototypen natürlich gemerkt, das Mapping ist noch nicht fertig. Das Motorrad geht nicht so ans Gas, wie es sollte. Kann es auch nicht, weil das Mapping noch nicht fertig ist. Die Elektronik ist noch nicht abgestimmt, das ABS ist noch nicht appliziert, die Traktionskontrolle, die Wheelie-Kontrolle ist alles noch nicht appliziert. Da werden jetzt weiter Daten gesammelt, dann wird das fertiggestellt, zusammengebracht und dann bin ich gespannt, wie dieses Endpackage funktioniert und ich habe es auch schon gesagt, wie es aussieht. Das werden wir relativ zeitnah herausfinden. Jetzt sind wir erstmal dankbar für diese Einblicke in die Motorradentwicklung und ich glaube, wir haben heute, also ich habe viele Sachen gelernt, die ich nicht wusste. Ich hoffe, ihr habt auch ein bisschen was gelernt. Wenn nicht, dann habt ihr wahrscheinlich schon vor einer Weile abgeschaltet und wenn doch, lasst gerne einen Daumen da, abonniert den Kanal und so weiter und so fort, like, share und subscribe. Ich würde mich freuen, wenn wir uns im nächsten Video wiedersehen. Bis dahin, macht's gut. Ciao.